Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever have you. By God, we are live talking about pop culture with Jake D. And we got a few guests to really bore into that season finale of The Mandalorian. All right, let's go around the horn real quick and just say hello to everybody. So, Myriasphere Origins, I am so glad you made it. I wasn't sure if you got my email or not yesterday, so I'm very glad to see you. And your light looks a million times better today, by the way. Oh, you're on mute, brother.
Yeah, I just bought me a light. Fortunately, the camera I bought for myself needs Windows 10, and I'm using a laptop with Windows 8, so I can't use mine or my new camera. So like,
You're still running Windows 8, brother?
Yeah, my laptop is super old. I'm on my way of building me a computer, so hopefully next month or two I'll have that set up.
Very good, man. It's good seeing the changes to the studio view behind you. It's
developing.
I like it. Yeah. All right, just another red shirt. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jake D. Looking forward to this discussion. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Outstanding. And then, of course, the great Lord Thoth. How are you, sir?
Hello, everyone. And let me see if you guys can recognize this.
Vader's lightsaber.
Right. We got some lightsaber action. That's
all right.
Finally.
Oh boy, did we ever. Let's say a quick hello to the chat. We've got one of my newer subscribers, Stephanie Littlepage. How are you, Stephanie? Great to have you here. I'm glad that you enjoyed my review of The Stand the other day. It was a lot of fun. I'm liking that show so far. Mary G being sneaky at work. Excellent. Well done. Glad you could make it, man. Very glad you could make it. And Jaffo, good to see you again, sir. You'd been at least quiet for a while. It's good to have you back in the chat and saying hello. And to anybody else who has not said hello, hail to you as well. So, Mando season finale. Let's not bury the lead. Grogu's dead, right?
Well, I don't know what you can do.
At least he didn't get tossed over Luke's shoulder like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Might as well have.
Oh, that's my biggest concern with how they closed this out, honestly, because as far as we know, the Disney tragedy movies are still canon, and that's still where we're going. So if Grogu is running off to Luke's Jedi Academy, Grogu's dead, right? So, I'm extrapolating, my friend. I'm extrapolating, but hail to you.
Oh, and by the way, spoilers. Because I think we're going to be talking deep cuts here today.
Yes, sir. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. But yeah, no, everybody who is at Luke's Jedi Academy is dead in a few years. So there's this. So
better they joined him.
Yeah, either that or Grogu is now Darth Grogu.
All right, if they come out with a movie with like Sith Grogu, I would actually be pretty freaking. They need a better fucking Sith name. I don't know what they need, but they need a better Sith name than Grogu. Friggin' I would like to see like a little tiny dude walk out in like a Vader mask and like freaking lightning people. That'd be freaking cool.
It's like Darth Fish Eggs or something.
So Stephanie got a visit from the local cops on Lookout Mountain when she got into a lightsaber duel.
I imagine.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. If that's the same Lookout Mountain I'm thinking of, I have a rough idea where you're at. And yes, there is some interesting things go on that particular mountain.
And nice to meet you, Myriasphere. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been together on a chat previously.
No, this will be the first.
Outstanding. So I don't know. What do you think, man? Myriasphere, Grogu going off to the Jedi Academy. Is he going to get out of there before Kylo Ren kills them all?
I don't know. I think this is another spinoff, dude, too. I think they're going to be like, well, fans like Luke. Why don't we make a young Luke training Jedi show? and have Grogu in there because they love Grogu. So
I mean, you'd almost have to do that animated, I would think.
maybe, probably.
We were syncing a little bit right before we fired off, and one of the things that Redshirt pointed out. I'll let you make your point on the CG, Redshirt.
Well, the CGI was they've been in the uncanny valley with computer animation of people's faces for almost 30 years. And what they did with Luke is the state of the art for CGI today. And it's better than, say, the Polar Express was. Not quite as eerie.
That was a little.
That was very odd. I mean, that was at the bottom of the uncanny valley. Tom Hanks out of a computer is like, this is not your grandfather's Tron. but as Jake pointed out, and I've been wondering, there are deep fakes out there that look more real than their CGI of Luke. And the question has to be asked, what stopped them from using a deep fake to make a young Mark Hamill as Luke? I don't know. But if they had to choose between CGI and de-aging, I watched The Irishman. I actually liked Luke's CGI better than Robert De Niro in The Irishman de-aged. Mm-hmm. He looked like Odo from Deep Space Nine with the wax face. It was terrible that de-aging on him. Yeah, so it's a weird choice. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time though, think about Ant-Man, and this is the same production company, and they de-aged Hank Pym in Ant-Man, and it looked fine.
Yeah, it's going to be dependent on, one, how much they want to de-age the person. I mean, that's always that. It doesn't matter whether you're doing prosthetics or you're doing de-aging in software. It's easier to change 10 years or add or subtract 10 years from somebody than it is to do 40 or 50.
That's fair. So I don't know. What are you thinking, Thoth? What was your take on how Luke looked?
I loved the throwback to Return of the Jedi. He's wearing all the black robes. When he lit that lightsaber and it was green, we knew who it was when he was flying that X-wing into the light cruiser. But we were all like, no, they're gonna screw with us. They're gonna screw with us. And right through the whole battle, I was thinking, that's Luke. He had his hand. So obviously there was a body double that was doing all the motion scenes. So you're gonna take what you can from that. It did look like him though. The way he moved. The form, everything was great, leading right up to the big reveal when he takes the hood off, and it did take me out of the show, of course. But at that time, I was like almost crying with happiness because this is the Luke that I wanted to see right from the get-go in the Disney trilogy. I wanted to see a powerful, strong Master Jedi, and when he crushed that dark trooper there right at the end with just and without any effort, it just went like this and it went crunch, and I went, yeah, there we go. And then so a lot of the joy leading up to the revelation was great. The anticipation was like I had a grin on my face that I haven't had in really any show, and that includes The Expanse, which I love. So it was one of those yes moments, and then I'm like, what the he looks weird, and I kind of, but the joy kind of took away from the disappointment in how he looked, but the voice too seemed a little weird, like a little when he was talking. When he was talking, I was like, because I think we're used to the gravelly Joker like Mark Hamill now, and I think they probably cleared it up in post. In order to, get rid of some of that gravelly old man sounding voice. Yeah, it was I mean, it didn't sound like not Mark Hamill, but it did sound a little off. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, because I recognized his voice. Like I said, that is Mark Hamill. Like it sounds like. It doesn't even sound like he was younger, Mark Hamill, because obviously I've watched the Star Wars movies like 100 times. So you get used to that voice, but I think they were trying to clean it up a bit because he does sound a little bit, well, old now. So as we all grow old, obviously our vocal cords and things change. But yeah, other than that, that whole revelation was just spectacular. I wish they could have done the CGI better, though. You're right, just another Redshirt.
Yeah. So what were you thinking, Redshirt? You were about to chime in there, brother.
Yeah, I thought it was I just saw Luke's or Mark Hamill's screen test for on a YouTube clip for Star Wars, and it was struck by how high pitched his voice was when he was that young. I mean, he was way up in the tenor range, and I don't think anybody stays in that range as they age. There are very few people who.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. What? You're crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I think he's had his share of issues that probably did nothing for the sound of his voice either. So I think they tried. I agree with Lord Thoth. I think they did some post-production cleanup in the sound booth to smooth his voice out. But I would expect 43 years later, 23, whatever it is from Return of the Jedi now, 30 years later or so, I would expect Luke's voice to be noticeably deeper than it was in the last time we saw him when he said, "I'm a Jedi like my father before me," and that's pretty much the end of the movie. So yeah, I was dying to see a Luke that was the full Jedi, not trying to prove he was, and facing
Jedi Master fucking Luke Skywalker. That's what we got in this episode, man.
Yes, we did. So I'll forgive the CGI for having gotten the chance to see that without Kathleen Kennedy peering over his shoulder, going, "Wait for it, just wait for it."
Yeah, and I just want to bring up this comment from Captain Robert April. He thinks he would have preferred they brought in Sebastian Stan with Mark dubbing the voice, and I that would have worked for me, honestly. They look alike. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on two sides of the fence on this one, so I can fall on either side. I love it being Mark Hamill. I love that's awesome, but Mark Hamill's getting older. If we want to see further Luke Skywalker, it would have been nice to maybe introduce Sebastian Stan with his voice. So I loved seeing Mark Hamill. It was great, and I had to watch the credits just to make sure, which I'm glad I did.
Me too, right?
I was actually surprised it was Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
and so, I was like,
he was credited.
Exactly. So I love that deep fake we get of Sebastian Stan as we've all seen it as Luke.
Good.
It's good, and then you're looking at, well, if you're going to do more, say a Jedi Academy, or you're going to do the future adventures of Luke Skywalker, if that's what you're thinking, because I'm telling you right now out there, the fan base is starting to look at this show again. And so a lot of the people that were chased off in the Disney trilogy and who are saying, "I'm never watching this show ever again," and ranting and raving, right? I think that what we're getting here now is everybody's going to start hearing about this, and they're going to say, Luke kicked ass and Darth Vader kicked ass in that Rogue One bit at the end. And so you're thinking, well, you're going to have the Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader matchup, maybe a rematch kind of thing. We don't need to get into that because I'm dead set against it. But I think a lot of the big fans out there are starting to see that the guys who are in charge of this right now, and the girls that are in charge of this, are really starting. KK.
Except Darth Kathy.
Hopefully she's got both feet out the door, I'm hoping. But I think that a lot of people behind this should get a pat on the back, because that was just outstanding.
It was, man. I'm going to bring attention to two comments in the chat here. And these comments are incredibly important. And it's incredibly fucking important that Disney listens to these comments, okay? Because if they want Star Wars to continue, and they want it to be what it once was, what we saw in Chapter 16 of Mando, this is the way, because of what it did to these guys, right? So Alpha Omega Records, he's a grown man and he bloody cried. So much so because he didn't realize what it meant to him. And his childhood was returned for those few minutes, and it was glorious. I mean, a lot of us, we know Alpha Omega Records from his comments in the chat and things like that. And to hear him say that tells me a lot about what this did for the fans. And Alex, hail, sir, glad to see you here. You know, Alex also not somebody I would ever thought make a comment like this, that he cried for like half an hour at the end of the episode. You know, and that these two guys, they don't say things like that. I've seen them in the chats and had conversations with them, you know, over the past year since I've been a part of, you know, kind of this fandom menace community on YouTube. These two guys don't talk like that. You know, that's how powerful Jedi Master Luke fucking Skywalker is for people who are a part of this fandom.
That's what he means to us. That's it. He's the flagship character. He's us. He's the moisture farm boy who's looking up at the sky and dreaming big things, right? He's the kid in all of us. And for them to do what they did to him was just unbelievably atrocious. It was a crime against humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you think about that, Myriasphere?
I definitely say that you could tell that there's a difference right now in Lucasfilm because of Favreau. Because they brought on Favreau. Favreau was like, hey, I'm going to bring in these other people from, I know, Marvel and stuff like that. But he's like, hey, this is Star Wars. This is what people want to see. This is what the fans want. We're going to bring in that. And I bet you Kathleen Kenney's head is fucking spinning right now. She's probably so pissed. Her and her story team from day one have hated Luke Skywalker. It's known fact. They hated Luke Skywalker as a character. They said he was people love him way too much. They can't get their new characters if he's in there. So they want to destroy his character so they can bring up their new characters, right? That's why they did the whole thing with Rian Johnson. They wanted to ruin Luke Skywalker for the fans so that people would like Rey. It didn't happen. And I think what they need to do is bring in a new leader, say, hey, maybe Favreau. But unfortunately, if the rumors are true, nobody wants the job. That's why Kathleen Kennedy might stay there because no one's taking it. I would take that job. I would make Disney billions. All they would need is a fan to come in and be like, hey, let me in charge. I'll say what you should do and what you shouldn't. And that's all I would have to do. I would literally be like, hey, you want to make $1 billion? Vader film, Vader series. You want another $1 billion? Old Republic show. Want another $1 billion? Freaking, let's get into the EU and bring the freaking what was it? Grand
Thrawn.
Admiral Thrawn series to life. Sequel trilogy gone, never existed. Kathleen Kennedy's out the door, gone. Just I would race it. I would race all of it. I'd be like, Rey never existed. All of them gone. Don't even. I would take the stuff off the shelves. Toys I would throw away the toys. I would throw away.
We could slap that. We could slap the Legends label on them.
Yeah, just slap that fucking lid. Like,
well, you brought up Thrawn, but Timothy Zahn had several characters in his books that were amazing. Mara Jade. You've got George Smith.
You want female characters? You had Jaina Solo.
You had
Jason. Yeah, the twins. You had the twins.
Yeah, they're like, well, what about when Leia died? I was like, you know how I'd do it? I would make it where they died in the show. Like, I would literally have them as little kids, like Jaina and Jason's little kids. Maybe, Jane's a little older than Jason or something. And I would have it where the remnants of the Empire literally killed because they are dead, so you can't really bring them back in the movie. And, the guy who played Han Solo, I can't think of his name right at the top of my head right this second, he doesn't want to play anymore. So just be like, hey, they were on their way back to Coruscant. They were attacked. They were killed. And how that has a story arc. Like Jaina is using it, as like, Jason hasn't got rid of it. He still has that anger inside of him. And that's what turns him to the dark side later on.
You can make that work.
Yes, exactly. I was like, and have it where Luke raises them at the temple. As his own. That's all. That's how I would fix it. Boom, done. And I would continue on with the new Jedis. You got Jaina. I would use Luke like Master Yoda or Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. He just come in. He would, do his thing, give a couple speeches, help train them, give them some wisdom, and then he would walk out. And if there's like a badass scene, like in Yoda in the prequels, just one or two times, just come in and just kick ass as Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master. But have it more focus on Jaina, Jason. You could bring in Teleka, the redhead Amazon chick. What's her name? I think I always call her Timothy Ka. when I was growing up. But it's like something else. And then you got the Wookiee, the nephew of Chewbacca. Yeah, who's also a Jedi. You got so many characters. I'm like, why? I don't understand this. I could make them so much money, and that's all I would have to do. And I would bring in, what's his name to play from the Old Republic?
Yeah, you're thinking of Revan?
Yeah, what's his name though? I can't think of the name of the actor. For some reason, just my brain's not working.
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves. I would bring him. I would. Just a whole series of movies.
Keanu Reeves as Revan. Keanu Reeves as Revan would be unfucking real.
Right. You have
I think I'm back.
Got so much in the lore of Star Wars that you could have done, but they're like, nah, because we want to make Mary Sue. Because fucking KK wanted herself as a character in fucking Star Wars, and that was it. And she ruined it because of it. And
Latino Slant and Apolimi's Minion have joined us. I hope Truck Dog is listening, Apolimi, because we all love Truck Dog.
They said something about like they didn't do the books because they would have to pay for royalties. Fucking pay that shit. You're Disney.
Well, and then then they had Zahn rewrite Thrawn.
And those books are not as good, not even a tenth as good as the originals. I've read the first two. I haven't read the third one yet, and they were okay, obviously better than a lot of the fiction coming out of Disney Studios right now. But they changed a significant part of him. They took him from being an absolute genius to more, he's still a strategic master, but he's not the main villain that he was in the original trilogy.
Grand Admiral Thrawn would be a sick bad guy because he's not a Sith, but he's got the brains and smarts to outthink them, and just having that tactical genius they have to face would be great.
I do think that so we got all the announcements from the Disney Investor Day, and then of course we got the Book of Boba Fett reveal. So we now know that there's basically 4 series running around in Mando's time frame. We got the Book of Boba Fett, we got the Mandalorian, we've got Ahsoka, and we've got Rangers of the New Republic. And there's probably another 1 or even 2 hanging in their back pocket that we haven't heard about yet. And we know all 4 of these shows are going to cross over. They flat out told us that. You've got, basically Favreau and Filoni are in charge of all of these series. And we know for a fact that Ahsoka is after Thrawn. And they've also told us that these are going to build up to a large culminating event in an MCU style fashion. So we could be getting our original Thrawn back. I don't know. What do you guys think?
They got a couple of years to work on it. They got a couple of years to look at fan reaction. They got a couple of years to do their research. They have a couple of years to hire Timothy Zahn as a consultant, bring him in, add him to the team. That I think that earlier we were talking about how they need to bring in fans to run this show, and I think they have with Filoni and Favreau right now. I think they're big fans, and I think that's why we got the Mandalorian the last 2 seasons that we did. So I think that what's going to happen with the big bad, they name dropped them. We're going to get some new shows. I guess the next show we're going to see will be Boba Fett next year. I would be surprised. I would be shocked, actually, if we see anything before then, because I think they're really starting to get some good feedback from the fans, and that's why they're making the changes they did. This season was very female-centric. Our star was male, but it was very female-centric, and it didn't tear me out of the show. I enjoyed it. Every single one of those female characters were awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that there's room for both of us, and both men, women, and other.
There always was. I mean, look what Alpha Omega Records says here, right? It was good to know that he wasn't alone. It was odd, a strong visceral reaction that he didn't know was possible. And it's a special thing when something can touch a generation like this. And again, Alex, he's 48. He doesn't cry easily, but Star Wars is really the epic of our time, and when you Disney has got to have their finger on the pulse of the reaction to what Jedi Master Luke Skywalker did to the fandom yesterday. I mean, Jesus, it was only yesterday. You know, and it's like,
did you see that reaction video? They had reaction videos of in that
Yes.
where they were all screaming and jumping up and down and stuff. And you know, I didn't jump off my couch, but I certainly was pretty emotional. I wasn't crying, but boy, I tell you, I was some darn close.
I was so surprised because I didn't think they were going to do Luke Skywalker. I didn't think in a million years Kathleen Kennedy's going to let Luke Skywalker come on the screen. Period.
I thought it would. Honestly, my bet, if I had thrown a bet down when we were in Vegas, it would have been on Mace Windu.
I thought it could be Ezra.
I thought it would be Ezra.
I thought they were going to pull in Ezra.
I thought so too, because it's Filoni, right? And Ezra is one of his children.
Right.
I think that, you know, honestly, I never, ever, ever thought they would bring Luke in. I was thinking it's going to be a character from the expanded universe, maybe, or a new Jedi that we haven't met before. I knew it wouldn't be Ahsoka because it would be just that silly that he would go to the mountain, Grogu would go to the mountain and then call upon Ahsoka. No, we knew that it would be somebody different. I thought it would have been Ezra. If I could have put money down, I would have said Ezra. I knew it wouldn't be Mace Windu because I think they're going to avoid that character because, one, his price tag is pretty high. And I don't think we want any. I don't think we want any damn snakes on Slave One. So I think we'll keep Mace Windu aside. And so when it was Luke, no way. I didn't. I was surprised.
Well, the Mandos have Gideon's light cruiser now, so at least Mando got himself a new ship since Razor Crest got blown up.
That's an upgrade.
It is. That's a hell of an upgrade, man. He's got himself some TIE fighters now too, because I mean, hey, right on. You know, and Draco here. One of the things that we got told by Chapek, and oh man, Myriasphere keeps losing his connection. So, but one of the things we got told by Chapek was exactly what Draco's saying right here, right? Audience generated metrics, and they're measuring audience response to decide how they're moving forward. And if the responses of guys like Alpha Omega Records and Alex are any indication, and frankly, a lot of the guys on this panel, if they're doing what they said they would do, we're going to get more stories like this.
Yes.
Yeah, I was surprised they were able to hold it in, that it was going to be Luke, because you know how much Lucasfilm's like story group hates the fandom, hates Luke Skywalker. I'm surprised they weren't like bitching on Twitter like the whole time, like, oh my God, Disney's bringing back in the toxic white male.
Yeah.
I did see something on Bounding the Comics on Twitter that we were being mocked by one of the Star Wars writers for liking that Luke Skywalker's back. I was like, oh, of course they are. Like, oh, look at these idiots. I'm like,
so I'm going to. There's a tweet that I'm going to share here that our boy Hamill himself dropped the other day.
All right, yeah, I saw that.
See anything good on TV lately?
Right.
And say what you will about Hamill. It was good of him to interact with the fans that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mark's always been kind of a crusty guy. I like him. He's not quite up to Bill Shatner's level, but he's got some pretty good one-liners he throws out there, and I think he's really been good for the fandom too. We knew watching the movies, like the Disney trilogy in the last several years, and they would interview him, and every time he would talk, you could see the look on his face, that he was kind of trolling the KK and her group a little bit, but he was staying within his non-disclosure agreement. I know what he really wanted to do is he wanted to come out there and just say what he felt, and I think this is kind of a little bit of righteous justice for him. I think
Yeah.
I think he's having a great time with this. He got to kick some ass like he should have been doing in the Disney trilogy, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, and I like this comment from Captain Robert April, man. He's you want to bet they didn't tell Darth Cathy they were bringing back Luke.
Wait a minute, though. Since everybody's like screaming, "Woo, this was best episode ever," she's probably going to take credit for it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course.
Just like she did Baby Yoda, right?
Yeah. She tried to claim that was her idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen this rumor as well, Alex, where supposedly KK is not allowed on set. I always remember that picture of Favreau, Filoni, and Lucas, and they're directing an episode in season 1. And it's the three of them, and they're all leaning forward and paying attention and actively involved in what's going on. I'm in like 2 rows behind them in a folding chair is KK, and she's like,
Have you ever seen her smile? Like, I've never seen her smile.
This is
in that picture with the Forces female. That's the only time I've seen her smile.
Yeah.
Well, this is a test now for Disney, because Disney is in financial dire straits.
That's why they're doing this.
And they now have something they can make money with for quite a while to come, with several different stories and series to put out. This covers them for several years.
And merchandising.
Or they can go with KK and her messaging and her ideology, which doesn't appear to make them any money.
Yeah.
And maybe they could indulge her when the parks were going full blast and they were turning people away with 2-hour, 3-hour waits for a ride. They can't do that now.
Yeah.
Mulan died in China, so that didn't get them the huge box office in China they expected from that movie. So Disney above Lucasfilm, the management above Lucasfilm has got to be looking at this and going, Kathy, I don't care what you think about Luke Skywalker, but leave these guys alone and let them make their like they do these stories, because they're making us money.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they were like, hey, we're going to say a name that you're still the president, but we'll give you some side projects to do. Here, you do this, and you do this. Just stay over there. Let's Favreau take care of the Star Wars stuff. You'll take care of that. Here's your little project. Go in the corner and do your little project.
What would you give to see a cell phone video of somebody at Disney's Lucasfilms saying to Kathleen Kennedy, Kathy, stay in your lane?
Oh, God, I would.
And get me some coffee.
Favreau, he'd be sitting there. Hey, Kathy, I need some coffee. Can you please go?
You're good at that.
I'm definitely convinced that Kathy wasn't involved, and Captain Robert April's comment about her not even being told Luke was coming, I believe that to probably have been true, because to everybody's point here, right? I mean, she and her story group and what they were doing, they were all about trying to, do their thing and just trash the characters from our youth. Yeah. And I mean, they even made comments to the extent that, like, literally the 4 of us on this panel, they didn't give a fuck about us.
Yep.
I'm in my 40s. All of us are, within about 10 years of each other. And KK flatly said,
we don't want them,
that she didn't want us. And it's like, who the fuck do you think has been keeping Star Wars alive for the past 40 years?
Right.
I'll only say this. I think that I would be shocked if the head of Lucasfilm did not know that Luke was coming back. But I think that right at this point in time, she doesn't have the power she had. So there was really nothing she could do to prevent it. Even if she didn't want to prevent it. I think, honestly, she's so egotistical that she probably sat back and said, yeah, this is going to fail. You're going to fail, and the people aren't going to like it, and then I'm going to be back in power, and then look at the reaction. I'd be surprised if the head of the studio didn't know what was going to be in that last scene.
Yeah, but
go ahead, Redshirt.
This may be the best case scenario for Disney and Lucasfilms at this going forward, is that based on her contract, maybe they can't get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. But on the other hand, based on the success of The Mandalorian, she doesn't have anything to say about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they basically marginalize her. She becomes the figurehead, and Filoni and Favreau basically take over the reins of everything Star Wars for Lucasfilm. And she doesn't get story edit control. She doesn't get veto control. She doesn't get to say, you're not allowed to bring Luke Skywalker back as anything but a miserable, broken down failure.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Alex makes a good point here, and it's right on the tail of what you just said, Redshirt. And it's, they probably have to keep her as a defense against the Twitterati, but they can easily tell her, you're going to get EP credit. You go sit in your corner office, sip your coffee, and have fun. The rest of us are going to get busy making some good shit.
And they probably tossed her a show or something. They probably tossed her this Rogue Squadron movie, and we know who's going to be the director on that. So we see that maybe, you know what, we're going to let these boys handle The Mandalorian. You go over there and you come up with a project or two and see how it goes, and then because that's what I think is going on. Is there's obviously two factions right now in Lucasfilm.
Oh yeah,
there's the ones who are being successful, and let's not kid ourselves. These shows are easy. These shows are not deep. They're not a thinking man's TV show or thinking woman's TV show. They're very much a cookie cutter plot lines. What makes us happy is this is Star Wars. This isn't supposed to be deep Star Trek or deep science fiction like The Expanse. This is very much a fun romp through the universe, and that's what we've got so far. We've got great characters, we've got fun plots, we've got fish egg eating Baby Yodas. We've got great ideas and laughs, and we've got spiders, and we've got ships, and we've got things blowing up, and we've got Boba Fett, and we've got Luke Skywalker. And this is the fun part of Star Wars that we're seeing again. So I think that there's two factions, and Filoni and Favreau have really put it to her, and that's the problem right now.
Well, my goodness, we have someone joining us from Spain, Joseph Manuel, new to the chat. Buenas tardes. And we are very glad to have you, sir. Appreciate you stopping in.
Hell.
So, I mean, Luke Skywalker has created a reaction among the fans that, again, if Chapek is telling the truth, it's going to result in more content like this, because they claim they're data mining fan reaction for how to plot forward.
Yep.
Right.
So I mean, what does that mean in your mind, Myriasphere?
I don't know. If they just could get rid of that sequel trilogy, that the only thing is holding them back right now. It's like a giant anchor that just says, "Hey, no matter how good the stuff before is, it's still going to end like that." So they need to be like, "Okay, we did our sequel trilogy. It didn't work. Maybe put it as other timeline, whatever." I don't care how they.
Oh, darn it! I think we lost him again. He's having some internet trouble today.
Yeah,
It's been happening a lot lately, eh? There's been a lot of that going on.
There has. I would actually, rather than an anchor as a metaphor for that final three movies, I would call them the sword of Damocles, because we're all waiting for it to drop. And as long as it's hanging over these television stories, we're just waiting for them to veer off and suddenly go out into that direction. And I know Gary, for one, is pretty confident that that's where it's going to go. But I think they need to figure out something so that it isn't hanging over these stories for the next several years, because it's going to keep people skeptical. It's going to keep them worried. And if they just need to resolve it somehow, is my feeling. I don't care how they do it, but they need to do something.
I don't disagree with Gary. We got two very, very direct references, if not three, in this episode to the Disney tragedy movies.
Right.
Specifically, Gideon talked about bringing order, and he really emphasized the word order when he said the line, back to the galaxy. We got the the pilot in the Imperial transport shuttle, talking about how, you damn rebels killed millions of people on those Death Stars. And, while the galaxy cheered and that they needed to destroy you terrorists, right? And they talked.
Too bad they killed him off. I liked him. He was a great actor.
Yeah.
That was a highlight of that first scene.
It was. He was good. And then, and he also talked about Pershing as being a cloning expert. So, I mean, you cannot honestly look at those three references and not see a direct tie to the Disney tragedy movies.
But it's interesting that's where you found the tie-ins, because I made a note that something that made this feel very much like Star Wars to me was also in that early scene where Slave One is chasing down the Doctor's shuttle. And when he finally hits them with the ion cannon and fries their electronics and says, prepare to be boarded, you see out of the front windows of the shuttlecraft, you see Slave One rise up from below the ship and travel up and across their view. And I had exactly the same sensation I did every time I saw Slave One in the original series. Was every time they got close enough to that ship, I always went, wow, that thing's bigger than I thought. And this thing coming right up in front of them, looking like it was about 30 feet away, was like, that thing's bigger than I thought. And I went, wait a minute, that's the same feeling I had 40 years ago, 30 years ago.
I know.
So I loved that little moment. It was perfect. So it's sad that they're referencing back to The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi with Slave One there in close-up, and yet in space, and then they're making reference to the Disney sequels at almost exactly the same time. That I agree is worrisome. That's why I think they need to figure out what they're going to do about because we know what's going to happen to Grogu. We know what's going to happen to Luke, and it's not good.
That's why I opened asking if they just killed Grogu, right?
Right.
That's why I started the stream that way. This is a good question though from Mary G, and it's an interesting one. So, what does not having Grogu do to the show? Because let's not pretend otherwise. Baby Yoda and Grogu was the initial big draw to this. Totally agree. He brought an element of comic relief that the show needed. And the cute little Baby Yoda plush toys and merch and all that stuff is a big fucking deal for Disney.
Yeah. So they're selling the crap out of that thing.
Yeah. So what does Baby Yoda's departure do to this show? And where do you think he goes? Because you can't let Grogu go. You have to keep him in the public eye.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking they're going to start another show with maybe young Luke or something, or they're going to have to, because he's Mandalorian, this whole show is by himself. He's like, but he's got to have, guest stars. Like every episode, it's like, hey, Mando's okay, but with his guest stars, or like they take the show every single time. So I have a feeling he's either going to stick with Boba Fett, or he's going to stick with Bo-Katan, or whatever her name is, to help restore Mandalore. It's going to be more like combat action. Now he doesn't have to be the babysitter, because he's the worst babysitter in the freaking galaxy. Like seriously, come on, dude.
I trust him more as a babysitter than I do as an egg attendant.
Yeah. Jesus. But if you didn't see that, I shared you a link in your private chat.
Yeah,
that's that Bounty Comics thing where the guy was mocking the fans for liking Luke. And
and this is I don't want to pull the full article up, but we'll pick up kind of the headline here. And it's so Brian Young, who's a writer for Star Wars, was mocking us for embracing Luke. I don't know. Is this guy like 17 years old and still gets picked on, and so he just doesn't want anybody to have something nice? I don't know.
So Ryan Johnson was. He was a freaking professional troll. He's just like, hey, I hate Star Wars. I want to make everybody hate Star Wars too.
Oh, I hear he's got
He's
a
a kid that
secret
got-
trilogy that's still underway. I heard they're
Right.
working on a secret
No.
trilogy.
No, I do not want Ruin Johnson anywhere near my Star Wars ever
Yeah,
again.
that guy has. He admitted that he hated the Empire Strike Back, like the greatest Star Wars movie to date. That's the Star Wars movie that really hit off Star Wars. New Hope was great, but when Empire Strikes Back, that's when my dad was like fell in love with Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, as a film, Empire's by far the best.
Yeah, and
Yes.
like literally, this is the problem Disney had with Kathleen Kennedy. She's like, we don't need those 50-year-olds anymore. I'm sorry. Who do you think brought us into Star Wars? It wasn't me who first found Star Wars. It was literally my father. Because my father had all the books. He had all the movies on DVD, VHS. They watched him nonstop. He loved it. He literally, I think they had one of the newer episodes came out in theaters. Or Reed came out in theaters, and we slept the night in a van in front of the theater so we could be first in line to see the Star Wars. He took us out of school just to go see the new Star Wars movie. That's how much my father loved it. And it was his love for Star Wars that really brought up my love for Star Wars. It's something me and my father did. My father, after a while, I think it was one of the books that finally he kind of left. I think it was the Courtship of Leia.
Oh, the Courtship
dad
of
was like-
Princess Leia. I remember that book. I had that book.
My dad was like, nope, I'm done. Because my dad was a pastor, okay? My dad's a preacher. So he really was not happy with that book. But he liked the movies. He liked the stuff, but he didn't really buy any more of the books. He kind of was going down. And then the new movies came out, and he's just like, no, I'm done. And he just walked away. And then I brought my stepkids, and I was like, when I first heard Force Awakens, I didn't know they didn't continue the EU. I thought they did. So I was literally driving there telling the kids about Jaina and Jason. I'm like, oh, man, we're going to get to see Jaina and Jason on the big screen. And then Ray shows. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Well, she's dollar store Jaina.
Right. She's a rip off of Jaina, yeah.
Yeah,
and Kyle's a rip off of Jason. Just a terrible rip off. And it's like, you guys have no idea what you did. You could have had the main character a female. You could have pushed that female, not too much of female empowerment, but you could have had that crazy good Jaina Solo as your main character, followed her and Jason and, all these other characters you could have brought. But nope. No.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. And, Polly's comment here about it would go back to being more of the kind of a Western, a more emotionally fulfilled Mando. That is definitely one option, but I think maybe they're using the book of Boba Fett to go that route. And I think, my thought is they're going to go to, they may even slightly change the title to the Mandalorians, plural.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Din, Bo-Katan, whatever the hell the name of the two Mandos that were with her were.
Right.
And, kind of the reconquest of Mandalore, because they can't drop the fact that Din is now the owner of the Darksaber.
Right. Yeah.
You have to continue that story.
Even though, I know I watched Rebels, and I remember at the end of Rebels, they didn't stick to their own canon, because at the end of Rebels, I don't know, I can't remember her name, but the Mando chick from that literally handed her the Darksaber. Goes, you deserve this better than I don't want to lead, but I have a feeling you're a better leader. And so she handed her the Darksaber. But in this one, they're like, oh, you have to win it in combat. I can't just get handed. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, that was definitely kind of retconning their own canon to an extent. Right. And so Alpha Omega Records makes a couple of interesting comments. And so, for anybody who's not familiar with it, Overlord DVD, Doomcock, he aired a couple of rumors that he had heard about this use of the World Between Worlds and the Veil of the Force to sort of wipe out the Disney tragedy from the canon. He did a few videos on it, and
we can do it. Let's just see it. I always want to see them do it. If they're gonna do it, then do it.
I mean, it could be done.
Admit it.
It could be done. But Alpha Omega Records is saying that he's thinking that may have been made up in order to kind of try to get the idea into the discussion. And it's, I don't know if he made it up, but I do think it's possible the person who sent him that rumor made it up.
Maybe.
So
yeah,
it's
like rumor.
But let's say hello and good afternoon to Vigilante Williamson, my friend from Detroit. How are you, brother?
Hey.
Yeah. Third episode of JD's channel I've been on. I cannot think actually offhand. I've done a few streams with JD. Nice to see you. I just hopped on the link and didn't know how long you guys were on because actually I just woke up not too long ago. I'm like,
well, good morning to you then.
Yeah, good morning at was it 2?
Fine afternoon, yeah.
Man. Just as a side, getting back to a comment there earlier, we were talking about with Grogu gone, what do they do next? You want to keep up with the merchandising. You want to keep up with, so you're going to have a sidekick. Although I will say that the Mandalorian sometimes seems to be a sidekick in his own show, but I think that they need to go either cutesy or because obviously that sells, and that's what's selling out there right now. If Grogu is not going to be part of the show, they might have to develop a new character or do something else. Maybe it's going to be a child that he finds after a battle, and he kind of
takes a foundling in.
Yeah, takes a foundling in, or because we obviously Grogu could never become a Mandalorian, so this might be a kind of a tie back to season 1 where he was a foundling and he was found by the Mandalorians and they kind of raised him, and that might be somewhere they go halfway down the road in the next season. They might do the whole get Mandalore back, but we've already heard that the Empire glassed the planet, so what's kind of the point now of bringing all the Mandalorians back when they don't have a home planet and they're all just kind of doing their own thing? We still haven't gotten any tiebacks to the Watch that we had from last year. Like what happened to them? There's a whole bunch of plot lines that they kind of dropped that they're probably going to go back to, and that may be where the foundling kind of ties into the Watch and that conflict with Bo-Katan and the Darksaber, and that might be kind of a cool way they take the show, is away from Grogu but towards a more standardized kind of show to tie back some of the plot lines.
Mary G's asking good questions. What's the purpose now, right?
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying.
Direction. Yeah, and they need to establish one. They need to do it quick. Yes. All right, now V-Dub, I'm so glad that you joined. No, I really am, man, because you have a different opinion. I think we represent kind of 3 different opinions on this panel, honestly. Just another red shirt and a few of the folks in the chat were elated, right, by the entry of Jedi Master Luke fucking Skywalker. And I mean, there were, there's some guys in the chat that have literally said, that they're, men in their 40s and they haven't cried like a baby like that, since they were a baby. Myself, I'm a little bit more in the middle on this. It was good, but
absolutely.
But he is still going to the Jedi Academy, and now we've got a dead Grogu because of that.
Absolutely.
And then we've got Vigilante Williamson, who rated the episode a 0 out of 10. So I want you to express your thoughts for the panel, V-Dub, because I appreciate where you're coming from, and I understand it, and I want everybody to hear it.
Okay. First, before I even get into that, Lord Thoth was just talking about what was going to happen with Grogu now that he's gone. I am not convinced that Grogu is gone. What I think is going to happen is they're going to do this book of Boba Fett, and that's going to delay them a year. And then they're going to do a slight time jump, and we're going to be in a different world where Grogu's been training for a couple years. Din Djarin has basically been the king of Mandalore, what's left of it, because he has the Darksaber. And we're going to start up there. So that's my theory as far as going forward. But why I don't like this episode, I need to even clarify that. if this was going to be the last thing that Star Wars ever produced, I would be so happy for this. I would say, man, we finally got Luke Skywalker for the first time in nearly 40 years. Cool. But this isn't the first thing Star Wars is going to. This isn't the last thing. This is the first thing. This is the beginning. This is the Iron Man. We've said it a million times. This is the Iron Man.
Yeah.
Star Wars MCU. And guess who gets to be Nick Fury? You know what I mean? Luke. And that gives them what? More chances to ruin him. I think that I'm going Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. It's a Trojan horse. That's my theory. And I have nothing but track record to back me up with Disney. Disney is a evil company, literally evil. They filmed their Mulan, their what you call it camp. I don't want to get Jake D in any trouble.
Yeah, it's one of those camps that you don't want to be in.
Exactly. they laid off thousands and thousands of people while giving their execs millions and money, and they just learned through their data-driven analysis that people who like Star Wars like Luke Skywalker. Who would have thought that Luke Skywalker? That people
I'm shocked.
That's people who like Star Wars like Luke Skywalker, the main character outside of Anakin or Darth. But I just feel like it's a trap, and I also feel like there were issues with the episode. And ironically, when I first watched it, I felt pretty excited, like everyone else. I almost welled up when the music came through, and it was a cool moment. And then it was really after I saw the Book of Boba Fett, and I thought for a few seconds, I'm like, wait a second. Boba Fett just came back 2 episodes ago. They already ruined him. What are they going to do with Luke? And I can expand on why I think they ruined Boba Fett as well if you want. But
no, I can see that they ruined that. I've said on many a live stream that I've had with Jake D and with others that they ruined Boba Fett for me too. And I've said before, I'm a member of the 501st, and my next suit of armor that I'm building is the Boba Fett one. And so I am a Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett fanatic. I even hated him in Return of the Jedi and how he died. Well, he didn't die.
Yeah,
apparently
he didn't.
But you know what I'm saying. And then to bring him back like this, I out of all of the stuff that they've done this season that I didn't like is how they've treated Boba Fett, especially that fight that woman kicked his butt in that cantina.
Oh yes, that was a little.
When he put that metal the cord around her. And she stood her ground and held.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
250-pound guy.
He pulled him off his feet. Yeah,
and and I went, "You weigh 100 pounds, if that." And you're anyway. But sorry, I'm going to start on a rant. But I think that I've hated. So I agree with you, VW. That's part of it that I really disliked. And if they do that with Luke, well, we see that they do that with Luke because we've seen the Disney trilogy.
No. We
when they did that, I thought what they were trying to show
on this channel, the Disney tragedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I
would just
quick. When they did that with, she just, they were pretty much tug of warring at each other with those freaking wires, and she pulls him off his feet. The only thing that hit me was what they were trying to do is show like maybe her armor is more high tech or more advanced than his. Like his is older. It's been around for a while. That's the only that's what hit me at first. I'm like, are they really going to say that Boba Fett's armor is old? Like, there's no way she like just pulls him off his feet. No, he would have been like,
that was a WWE move, is what that was.
She literally DDT him through a table, which is she's a wrestler, Sasha Banks. And I joked in my review where was barely the hit with a chair to stop her.
I can believe it was Cara Dune. If it was like literally Cara Dune, like fucking just wham, I'd be like, okay. Yeah,
well, she's bigger than all the men in this show. She's
still beautiful though.
One of the things I really noticed about Gina in this episode is like her arms are fucking huge.
Yes,
and she's a UFC fighter, man. There's a reason she kicks ass.
Did you see the pictures of when she was a UFC fighter? She was a lot slimmer. Now she's I'm pretty sure that's not fat. She's really bulked up. Like she's a big girl and strong. And when I say big girl, I don't mean chubby. I mean like, whoo, yeah. Give me more Gina. I love it. I have girls that I work with that are like that. That are
nice job.
members, and they're tough. They're tougher than the men, and I love them. I love them all because they're the ones who watch my back when I go out on patrol and stuff, right? So they're the people that I love and respect, and that's why I love Gina so much, because she's a real woman. Like she's a tough girl, and so I believe.
You believe it?
She
Yeah,
takes on a stormtrooper and crushes him. Absolutely, I believe it. So maybe not
like
so
Ray.
much with,
if it was Ray, I'd be like,
yeah.
Yeah, well,
100
it's,
pound when wet.
My problem, another problem I had with it too, is they turned him into a taxi driver. So he goes all the way. One, when they go into the Lambda class shuttle, and so who goes in to deal with the Imperials? Well, okay, Cara Dune, and absolutely, because he's at the pilot seat. I get that. And then he takes off after they drop him off the light cruiser, right? Gideon's cruiser, and then poof, he's gone. I'm like, okay, I get that, because they want to keep the story, or they want to keep the covert op going as long as possible. So they don't want him to think, wow, somebody's on our ship right off the bat. So I get him hyperspacing out.
Oh, yeah.
What's to stop him from hyperspacing right back when it's going down, and to be the backup? You want him, whether or not it's
He
going
could
to
have
be.
blown the shit out of those dark troopers, huh?
That's right.
That's what I
So
thought was
why
going to
didn't he
happen.
just
I thought
come
he was
right
like
back?
flying, just like, but no. All right, I'm going to say this real quick. When that X-Wing first came in, and you can't really see it, it looked like the Millennium Falcon.
Yes, it did. For
My
about
first reaction, I was like, "Is that the Millennium Falcon?" And then it's like X-Wing. I was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that is an X-Wing."
yeah.
Literally, the way they had it at the window, it looked like the little dome on the side of the Millennium Falcon. I was like,
when it first came into frame, like right here as it was going across, it absolutely looked like the Falcon.
I was like, "Holy shit! They brought the Falcon in."
It's gonna be Han and fucking Leia, and
I was thinking Chewie's just gonna fucking just destroy those robots, fucking ripping their arms off and just going at it. I would be fucking cool with that. I'd be like, damn, Chewbacca's just like ripping their heads off. Like,
So what happened to Fennec Shand here? What happened to the other male Mandalorian? Like, you could. Why would you send
What
her
happened to
in
him?
and have your most experienced, capable mercenary bounty hunter type, the guy who's got decades of experience being a kick-ass guy? And why have him hyperspace out, like, and not come back as backup? Like, it just made no sense to me. You send the girls in, and absolutely, it was a great A-Force female Avengers kind of moment. I love that Jon Favreau got his moment to shine there by having all the girls kick ass. But it just kind of makes no sense that you send the Mandalorian off alone and you have them. Why not hang tough? Have Boba Fett come and back him up as soon as they got the alarms are sounding, and then go in and take it that way. It just it made no sense to me. But
yeah, Mando is like a baby Baba right now because he makes the dumbest mistakes. Like, even in this episode, he literally turns his back on Moff Gideon. He's like, "Hey, we got a deal, right? You got a deal, right? Yeah, okay. Here's
you
my
guys
back.
have clearly
Here I
been
am,
listening.
wide open."
You guys have clearly been listening to V-Dub, whose major thesis about Mando is that this guy's a schlub.
Yeah, like, he's like a noob. Like when at the beginning, the first season, the first episode, you're like, "Damn, this guy knows his shit." Now he's like, just making the dumbest mistakes. Like, Boba Fett in no way would actually turn his back on that dude. He'd be like, "Fuck you." Bam. No, it's just
Yeah. So I don't know. So I mean, it's a good time. So Vigilante, you have, and I love it, and I think you're dead on, this thesis about Din being kind of like, well, he's not exactly an honor student, right? Yeah.
not a very good babysitter. That's for sure.
First, I want to answer my friend and yours, Paulie, in the chat, and actually, I want to answer him to a different chat I was in, because I don't actually have a problem with the A-Force moment. In fact, I thought they did it better than the Avengers when they had the.
They did,
yeah.
Yep.
It was
so
fine.
because I had
Far
said
better.
in the chat that it was woke. I was not referring to that. I was referring to what Lord Thoth was, as far as Sasha Banks whooping on Boba Fett, and also Bo-Katan being everyone's bitchy manager. It was one thing to do in one episode, in episode 3, but that's her character. And so what the real question is, Latino Slant, is This is the company that made Haldo. This is the company that made Rey. This is not happening in a vacuum. These things in a vacuum are not woke. They're not. They're just story elements. If this was any other company, any other story, I would not be saying that. But it is Disney Star Wars. They do have the track record they have for the past 5 years. So that's where I'm coming from with saying, is there a little subtle wokeness? So I just want to clarify that, because I love Parley, and I just want to toss that out there.
Dude, we all
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. In a vacuum, like an individual singular event, hey, it's no problem. It's pretty awesome. But when you take everything and you take encompass the whole storyline that's been going on for 5, 6, 7 years, come on. I'm not saying it wasn't bad, because it was a fun kick-ass scene. Like, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it was fun.
I got a
It wasn't as
question.
bad as Marvel, that's for sure.
No,
True.
no.
Vigilante Williamson, do you the last 5 or 6 years Disney has done some horrible things, obviously, with the Mulan and the way it was made, with the Disney tragedy, as Jake D likes to refer to it.
all credit to Geek Tropology for that.
All right.
Yeah.
He's a fan of
Hail
everyone.
Geek Tropology for that one. Here's the question I have. Disney has been hemorrhaging money. They have shut down the parks. They have laid off thousands of employees. Yes, they've given their executives bonuses. Companies do that. It's stupid, but they do that. The bottom line here, though, is this is not the same world for the Disney company that it was even a year ago.
Very true.
And they could afford to indulge themselves in virtue signaling and in putting their messaging into films with KK and doing those. And I want to destroy the entire canon of Star Wars with the final 3 movies bit. Well, if they didn't make a lot of money, and they didn't, they made less and less money as they came out. And now if there aren't enough theaters, Disney's going to have to make some money on every single thing they do just to survive. And now they have audience reaction on this show versus the people putting their wallets back in their pockets and walking away from the Disney sequels. They've got to make the decision. And I agree with you. If it had not been for 2020, I think you'd be absolutely right. Disney is going to take this story, run it straight into the sequels, and destroy everything that they've done so far. I'm not sure they can afford to do that, but I will. So I'm going to take a wait and see.
That's fair.
That's a very fair point, and I'm hoping you're right. I'll be honest. I hope you're right, but also keep in mind that Disney, and actually one of their old financial advisors, is doing a little poorly because of it. But Disney's pretty good at doing little funny things with those financials.
Oh yes,
they are
infamous at it. So they have a way of generating funding. And what I think they also can do, and I think that this may, I'm hoping I'm wrong. I want everyone to know I love Star Wars as much as everyone. I remember having the original trilogy on cassette. If you guys remember that cassette that had like half of Darth Vader's face or whatever.
I wore out like
I have the
4 of
8-track. I have the Star Wars 8-track still.
I saw that whole thing. Like, I watched it all in one sitting. I remember that day I did that, and it was like, wow. You know what I mean? So I have that same moment that everyone had when they first saw Star Wars. It's not coming from a jaded, well, it is coming from a jaded perspective. It's coming from a, like, this company has no track record with me. And, allowing Luke Skywalker in Star Wars is like allowing Bruce Wayne in Batman. He's supposed to be in Star Wars. This is like a parent who wants credit for just doing what they're supposed to. I think Chris Rock has a joke about that. Like, you're supposed to be a father. You're your father. Like, what are you talking about? You're supposed to give us Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. But your point, just another red shirt, and you're not just another red shirt to me, is super valid, just because I think that's part of the reason this got done. I honestly think this was not something originally planned for some reason. I feel like there was a reshoot shift partway through.
Maybe that explains the bad CG.
Maybe. And I
that's actually a really good point, because it does seem like there's a radical change in direction that happens. And I know that we heard that warning at the beginning where everybody was saying that there's going to be a change in direction, but you're right, VW, that it does seem like halfway through this, they went, we need to make some changes or else this is going to go really bad.
Mm.
And maybe that's why that's why it ended up being Luke. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be Luke at first. Maybe it was supposed to be Ezra.
Maybe it was Ezra originally, yeah,
or somebody else.
It would, because think about if it was Ezra, that would make sense for a spinoff for Ahsoka.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it makes a lot more sense than Luke. That's why I had money down on saying that it's probably going to be Ezra, because it goes back to Filoni and it goes back to
Clone Wars,
Rebels. And if there's going to be a handful of Jedi out there, well, Ezra disappeared into that Doomcock spoiler theory. And so I think that they made a change because they wanted to bring us back, the old fans. They wanted to give us that orgasm moment that we're all looking at going, oh, it's Luke. And it's exactly what you said. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Luke Skywalker should be in Star Wars. That is an awesome analogy. Love it.
Right.
Just
anybody else think they were going to kill Boba Fett in this one? I thought they would.
I was kind of
There's
expecting
like big
him to.
rumors. Like when she said, watch out for those cannons. And he says, don't worry about me. Take care of yourself. I thought for sure they were going to do something where he like somehow gets hit or something, but the ship doesn't get destroyed. And then it was going to be like, hey, we're passing on the ship to the Mando. But now he's got like no major.
Yeah, that was.
I'm sorry, I laughed when they blew his ship up. I was like, oh, thank God, that thing is finally gone.
Yeah, I was happy too that hoop he had.
How did it even get out of the atmosphere in like friggin' season 1, let alone?
I know, it's like a hole inside. I was like,
I'm like, that's like my old Ford.
Jaffo said he had a bit of a joygasm there, so
I'm just happy that it starts in the morning back when I was a kid in my first car. And I think he was feeling the same way about his ship. I'm glad it's gone.
He gets it all fixed. He's like, it's fixed. Boom, gone. He's like, oh God.
Jake, I remember you saying early on in your reviews, don't make I think, I don't know if I suggested it or somebody else, that make a drinking game out of every time the Mandalorian's ship needs to be repaired. Yeah. And you said, don't do that. You'll die of alcohol poisoning if you binge the series.
People need their livers.
I was reminded. I just realized that in the last couple of episodes, I was reminded of something. This is another thing that to me tied back to the original Star Wars, which is the Millennium Falcon. What are Leia's first words when she's being rescued by them out of the Death Star? She comes into the hangar with them, and she sees the Millennium Falcon for the first time.
You came here in that thing?
You're braver than I thought.
What a piece of junk.
So yeah, I was just reminded of whack hits the command, hits the panel, and comes back on in the Millennium Falcon. I mean, that thing was spitting baling wire, and that was what
your crest.
Yeah, that's the same
was
thing.
In way worse condition though.
Well, yeah.
1994 Chevy Caprice that Mando was still riding around in. Up caps. It's like, you got to do better, man.
Yeah.
In the first
and no
season,
license
they
plate.
dismantle it. I'm just sitting there like, how the hell did he rebuild that in like a day?
Yeah. He's got the Cadillac of armor on, and then you see a ship and you go, WTF, dude?
Yeah. I think
He's driving around in a rusted out VW Bug.
Yeah. His armor was worth more than his ship. He half of the season he was getting robbed for his space platinum that he's riding around in. Yep. And he's riding around the ship that barely stay together.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Space platinum, man. I love it. It's and good news though. We know Mando's not going to have any financial problems in season 3 because he bagged 2 major New Republic bounties in this episode. Did you guys actually catch that?
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't think I did. But
the Doc and he's got
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to be like, hey, New Republic, I want some of that cash. You can have them. I want that sweet cash. But Cara Dune's with him, so she's probably going to take the credit and up her career. That's probably why they're going to make her the Rangers. And I still don't like the name. They need to come up with something better. Because it literally sounds like and looks like a Power Rangers show. I'm like,
yeah. Do you think they're going to roll Timothy Oliphant in there with her, or is it going to be a new group?
I think they might get a guest star. I think he might be a guest star.
I think they're going to bring what's his name, the Imperial Sharpshooter. Yeah, I think they'll bring him. I think they're going to bring the I don't think the Asian chick. I can't think of her
No,
name either.
she's gonna be with Boba.
Yeah, she'll be with
Boba.
Boba's show.
Boba.
So
Yeah, him and
it'll be those two and some others probably.
Raylan Givens will be a part of it.
Yeah. All right,
Maybe
guys.
that one guy from this season, from the first episode. I wonder if they'll bring him on.
All right, guys. I'll be back in about 30 seconds. Hang on. I got to take care of something.
All right, no problem.
Keep chatting.
You know, just another red shirt. I want to add something to your point because we were talking about, you know, they can't afford to be woke, basically, which I agree with. But we also have to remember they're not competent either. It's not just we want to be woke for woke's sake. They have a competency issue because I'm of the theory. We were talking about the Rangers of the New Republic and all their shows. I am literally of the theory the reason that they were going to lean, or they're leaning so hard with Darth Vader as far as Obi-Wan, is literally because the people involved did not know that Obi-Wan and Darth Vader were not supposed to touch over that 30-year whatever period. That they literally know so little about this franchise that they spent $4 billion on, that they didn't realize that, which is why they just tossed it out there with every other series that they got their Photoshop department to act like they're making, which some of them they are making genuinely. I do think Rangers is something that's being made because all these guest stars have kind of teased into that, but some of the other stuff I'm not sure.
Yeah, I actually would argue that Disney. I watched a couple of YouTubers that teamed up to do a 2-part story about the Imagination Pavilion at Epcot. And I was in Epcot. The first time I went to Epcot, it was 96, and Imagination was absolutely fantastic. I came out of that show, that dark ride, singing the song Imagination in the high-pitched voice of Figment, the purple dragon. And I had bought a Figment ventriloquist plush doll at the gift shop. It's the only time I've ever gone into the gift shop at after a Disney ride. I went in there and bought a Figment. That is how much that hit me. I was thrilled with that thing. Went back in 2012. Luckily, I didn't catch the middle part, which is the really El Cheapo awful remake they did of Imagination, and they chopped off 2/3 of the ride. I came back in 2012 where they had brought in Eric Idle to do a completely different show out of Imagination, and it was awful. It was really bad, and it wasn't even the worst they'd done to it. So I would argue that Disney's competence problem and managerial misdirection have date all the way back to the late 90s. Around the turn of the millennium. They've been sliding for 20 years. So I'm not arguing. I'm not going to argue with you that they have a competency problem. They do, and have had for a long time. I'm hoping that Mandalorian is not a case of a blind squirrel. Even a blind squirrel occasionally finds an acorn. I'm hoping that Favreau and Filoni can start to drive something better. I agree with you when it comes to KK. She knows nothing, and doesn't care.
No.
Oh, yeah. Not only does she not care, she actively wants to harm the legacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
She hates Star Wars. I have a conspiracy theory and it's not really a conspiracy theory because people kind of know how KK got on. It wasn't just coffee she was making, but I feel like she resents how she got her path, and she resents going through the Lucasfilm because she worked for basically Lucasfilm in some capacity for like 20 years, 30 years before she became the demon mistress that she is today. And I feel like she just hates George. She wants to destroy his legacy. Like, she's a literal Sith Lord. She literally has a villain motivation of wanting to destroy George Lucas's legacy. And I'm hoping that she can be nullified by the people who say, look, we just got to make money, and so we don't care. And that's the hope. That's the, I'm cynical, but I'm hoping this is a new hope. I'm hoping that this is that.
And
she was hired as the president for a virtue signal.
Yeah.
That's why they hired her. They were like, Disney bought Lucasfilm because they wanted a male franchise. They said that.
Yeah.
They said, hey, we got the princesses. We need the boys. And so they bought it, but they were like, but it would look good if we put a female in charge. Hey, George, do you know a female that could lead Lucasfilm? And he's like, I don't know. Well, we got, who do we have? And Spielberg's like, well, we got that KK girl who gives us coffee, and she, she's an okay producer. She He'll make
her
sure
back
that
in
my name gets out there, and he's like, okay, yeah, you, come here. How long have you worked here? Here's your promotion. Now give me my $4 billion.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. I actually think he trusted KK by the first few interviews. I think he really thought, oh yeah, this person's been here. She knows how I work. She's going to pass on the same legacy. Yeah, she snaked him.
Snake. That whole interview with her sitting across the table, and she's like, yeah, we're going to protect your legacy. You have all these books. You have all these comics. And as soon as he signed the dotted line, she's like, fuck you.
Basically.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah. That about sums it up.
And I would say that the we need to make money is probably Disney's only hope
right now. Yeah.
Because they will,
Disney's
if they get woke, they will go broke. If they throw this under the bus and take it back into what KK and Jar Jar, whatever, the directors of the trilogies, if they go in that direction, they're screwed. They will have nothing left.
Do we actually believe that they are learning a lesson from all this? Because I'm with VW in a lot of ways, because I think that I have a problem with believing that this billion-dollar company is sitting back in their boardroom with all their money and going, we really don't care how the story goes, just make us money, so no more woke. I think that it's part of the whole program now. KK, the reason why she isn't gone is because she's hired all of her people. And I think she thought Filoni was one of her persons. I think that he spoke the spoke and talked the talk and walked the walk. And then that's why he got put in charge of the show.
He's a shark.
And then he brought in Favreau because Favreau knew the show and knew the stuff and he was a fanatical fan. And he's a juggernaut in Hollywood after Marvel. So I think that what happened was it was kind of like
Disney brought him in. I think
it was kind of a oops. Because I think really that KK and her people that she's hired in there the last 5-10 years, they believe one way, and the way is what we saw in the Disney trilogy. And so what's happened in the TV show is kind of an accident, I think.
I agree. But I don't think that billion-dollar company is learning a lesson from this. I just think if they don't, they're done.
Yeah,
agreed.
I think that you will see them sell off the parks to some other company to operate, and the Disney parks will not be Disney anymore if they screw this up badly enough, because they are in serious trouble.
Yes, they are.
They are in serious financial trouble. So it's not a question of are they learning a lesson. The question is, can they learn this lesson before they disappear?
That is a good question, and I don't think they'll sell off those parks. They need those parks. I know they're stuck because of
those parks are literally the only thing keeping them afloat.
Yeah, those parks are the difference between them being AT&T. So
there's no way they sell off those parks. That's a last resort because that's the long-term plan here is to get those parks going again, get people going back and making their money back, because that's what's allowed them to survive for the last 100 years.
Yeah. Imagine if they actually didn't listen to KK and actually made a true Star Wars land.
Galaxy's Edge.
I'd rather go to Universal.
Yeah.
And right now, Nintendo's killing it with Universal because in Japan they just opened their new Nintendo park. That shit looks fucking awesome. You guys see that shit? Mario Kart ride and everything. I was like, fuck yeah! I want to go to Japan.
Mario Kart ride?
Yeah. Like an actual Mario Kart ride where you get on a little cart and you drive around the cart like a huge, freaking crazy looking freaking course.
Do I get to shoot turtle shells?
That would, I hope so.
Throw bananas?
It's gotta, dude. They have to. If they do, that'd be.
Do we get to rescue the princess?
Not in Mario Kart. You're supposed to take her out in Mario Kart. Come on.
Yeah, that land looks sick. They put a lot of money in that, and Japan. I see Japan doing that because I watch videos and they literally have like a street where you can like get with people who got a bunch of like carts, and they drive around Japan like you're in Mario Kart. You get the costumes on and everything. And if they're going to do that like in their city, this land is going to be sick. I'm like, dude, if Universal goes, hey, we want that here, fucking Disney's done. Fucking done. They're going to be like shit.
Well, Disney's almost done now. I think the chopping block is waiting for them. I think that we might be looking at the end of Disney here before too long if they're not careful. And just another Redshirt is 100% right.
Why do you think what's his name jumped ship right now? He's just like, hey guys, I've been president, I bought all that shit, but I didn't hire any creatives who would actually care about what I bought. And I'm going to take my check and I'm going to bounce. And I'm going to put this cheapsteak in charge that everybody hates. And good luck.
Yeah, he really did that. Even though I've heard that Iger is still sort of there.
I'm sure he's got his clutches still in the
borders.
Oh, he must.
Probably. He just doesn't want his name as like the sole responsibility. He's just like, I'm going to let this guy fall and not me.
Absolutely.
That way he can try to run for president.
Hey, Clobbering Times. Good to see you here, brother. Glad you made it.
Hey, Clobby.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Good
no,
man.
I mean, can you blame Iger for wanting to get his name off the CEO title? He knew what was up. I mean, it's a fair point, though, about the potential that they would actually have to sell the parks. I mean, I know that sounds unthinkable, but at some point, they have to recover real cash. And the longer those parks stay shut down, Disneyland, I mean, Disney World has some folks there, but Disneyland is shuttered. And it's going to remain shuttered, perhaps through the end of next year, possibly. At some point, they have to stop losing their asses.
And Universal's open right now, and they're doing pretty well. I heard that they're pulling money again. They're making movies. They're getting ready to ship all their movies out.
Yeah, Universal's kind of sneaking by this whole. We've been talking so much about Disney and the Warner Brothers. We don't even talk about Universal. And they kind of snuck by. We don't know what their financial situation is. They're probably doing better than we think. Who knows?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the hell they're doing. What are they doing on streaming?
I don't know.
Is Universal, are they part of HBO or not?
No, that's Warner, I believe. I believe HBO is just Warner, and I believe Universal is their own property. But offhand, I'm like, what properties do they still have?
Well, they're doing that Harry Potter stuff, aren't they? They have Harry Potter Land. They did a great job with that.
Right. You're right. They have the land, the park. Universal. That's the thing. Universal's park has a lot more licenses to things than the actual company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got the Marvel, which I think was funny, is because I've been to Universal and they got that big Marvel area, and they got the Spider-Man ride, which is fucking awesome. That's one of my favorite rides there.
How long could they possibly have the license for that, though? I mean, I don't know that the mouse wants that back.
But isn't it through Spider-Man? Wasn't it because that Spider-Man
license
through
Fox?
Sony?
Yeah, I think it's through Fox or Sony or whatever. Yeah, that Spider-Man license is separate than the rest of Marvel. So if that's fine, he may have that. That's between them and Sony, so they can have that forever.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they keep making Spider-Man movies, they keep the license is perpetual.
They're not gonna stop.
Yep, that's right. And that's the number one licensed property that anyone has is Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
As long as they don't destroy it like they have been in the comics.
And they have a good play. I mean, I'm going to watch this multiverse thing they're talking about. I know that's off topic. We've
the Spider-Verse.
But the Spider-Verse, they're doing the Spider-Verse where they're going to do Toby and some of the villains from Toby's era. Of course, the Andrew Garfield stuff. And then the current stuff. And they're going to be all jumped into one multiverse.
I want to see a real-life live-action Miles Morales. I love the animated movie. That was awesome.
I think that's coming.
Yeah, I think so, because that's a great character, and it kind of it gives a different perspective on the Spider legacy and stuff. I think that's been great.
He also made a lot of money.
It did.
Don't Disney and Marvel actually have the exclusive license on Miles Morales?
Do they? I don't know.
Pretty sure
I don't
they
even know
do.
what they have anymore. It's so crazy.
Yeah, that's Spider-Man license.
I just wish they'd get rid of someone would buy Deadpool from them so that we can actually get another great Deadpool movie, because Disney in no way in hell is going to make a great Deadpool 3.
Does anyone believe it'll actually be rated R and be in line with those two movies?
No,
I think they're going to do Gwenpool. They're going to have a female Deadpool. That's what's going to happen.
I think they may do that in the future because that the Spider Gwenpool got popular. One of the few things in the comics that sold, right? So they're going to push that out. I mean, they're going to put
Deadpool 2
when
isn't as good as Deadpool 1.
You're going to have Ryan Reynolds wear a bra and become a woman. I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
To be fair,
Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool.
That actually would be pretty hilarious. Ryan Reynolds as a female Deadpool. That was
that would be hilarious.
He could do
it in Deadpool. He could literally do it in Deadpool. You can do it because it's Deadpool and it's so nuts. It works.
Oh man, I actually like the idea now.
Transgender disabled Deadpool, exactly.
And it could really make fun of wokeness if they want to. If they want to make
God.
Oh,
he'd be like,
man.
I got boobs, look, my boobs. Like, pull out his boobs and be like, play with them in front of like Wolverine or something. Like, make Wolverine touch his boobs. Like, hey, Wolverine, come here.
He'd be like 30 minutes of the movie would be just him in front of the mirror.
Guy's a little unicorn. He's like playing with his boob.
Oh, boy.
Dude, as I said, if they really want to make a lot of money, bring Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, put them in one fucking movie and just let them go have fun. Let them have fun because that shit would be hilarious. I love the whole, Wolverine, Deadpool, and Spider-Man. When they're like together, it's fucking great. And even throw a Hulk in there every once in a while.
They can add Hugh Jackman, Wolverine into this mix if they want to. And I've heard they talk to him. And another thing I thought about, like, okay, they probably won't make a Deadpool 18 rated R, but they do have this 18 plus Disney thing coming out. Yeah. And what better flagship for that 18 plus Disney
Deadpool?
Did they actually officially announce that?
It's still one of those
officially.
I don't think it's official.
They need to.
You know what would be great? An R-rated TV show, Deadpool, 10 episodes of R-rated carnage. You could have Hugh Jackman come by. You could you could do Gwenpool. You could do the Hulk. You could have any. Can you imagine how awesome that would be? Oh, shout out to my brother Ryan Reynolds.
Shout out to Canada.
Ryan Reynolds in a bra as Deadpool, almost as sexy as Gina Carano.
She was already in Deadpool 1, Bring him back in.
I noticed my wife perked up here. She's saying, "Ooh, Ryan Reynolds."
She was a bad chick, that fucking dick like all the time. That was Gina Carano.
You know what? Ryan Reynolds could even do a guest spot on The Witcher.
Oh shit, yeah.
Deadpool could do anything and anything. That's the greatest thing about Deadpool. Is he literally could just appear in anything and be like,
yeah, Henry Cavill and Ryan Reynolds. My wife wouldn't come out of the home theater room, I think, for several hours.
Oh my god! Ryan Reynolds does such a good job because he's a good actor, and he did a fantastic job with Deadpool. And I think him and Hugh Jackman would make a great team. I think they would have a lot of fun together. There's so much things they could do, and
when you've got the good kind of chemistry and the back and forth and banter that those two guys can generate just from their friendship, I mean, it makes magic on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. Unfortunately, we're stuck with Disney, and I don't know why who they hired. Like, but
they hired their woke friends. Unfortunately,
I know, right? Like, all you need is some good people. Hey, like, you want a really funny shit? Let's do this. Like, if I was in that boardroom, I'd be like, hey, you guys want to make a lot of money? Call Hugh Jackman right now, and call Ryan Reynolds. Be like, hey, you guys want to be in a movie together?
Yeah,
on this whole movie series together. Let's do it.
There's no way they haven't been contacted.
Let them go.
There's no way they haven't been called and said, hey, guys, we're thinking about doing this movie. It'll make billions. Want to do it? And they're like, we're getting old. Or like Hugh Jackman, especially, right? I think he's kind of like,
that would make it even funnier because he's like old man Logan.
He could be chubby
Deadpool walks in and just like, hey, guy, what's up?
Yeah, you have Fat Thor. You have Fat Thor, Fat Logan. You have all the superheroes all chubby and old. Yeah.
Friggin' fucking, what's his name is the professor again, and have like Deadpool like sitting on his head or some shit, rubbing him.
I really do want them to do something with Deadpool, especially now, with the MCU. He can have a lot of fun. He's a character that doesn't need canon. You know what I mean? And he was
Absolutely.
already talking crap about the MCU in the first 2 movies, so him actually being in the MCU would be funny. You know, there's a lot of
Fucking
fun
great.
to
Him and
add.
Spider-Man would do a good one. If they could put him with
Yeah.
Spider-Man, those are always good too. So there's so much you could do with that character.
But I want real classic Peter Parker Spider-Man, not this Home Alone Spider-Man that we've been seeing the last couple of years. That
Tobey
he's this
Maguire Spider-Man.
whiny, crying.
Toby's coming back,
Yeah,
though.
let's
Toby's
bring
coming
back
back.
the old school Spider-Man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I
You
agree.
just got me thinking of Macaulay Culkin as a Spider-Man villain there.
Oh, jeez.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Home Alone, yeah.
Deadpool is my favorite Marvel character of all time. So Deadpool #1. The first Deadpool is literally my #1 favorite movie of all time.
Deadpool's a
Which is-
great character. There's so many great Marvel characters though. Like Clover in Time could tell you all kinds of great Marvel characters. He's in the chat there.
Yes, he
Oh
can.
yeah, man.
I'm more a DC guy. I'm a Green Lantern, Hal Jordan guy, a Superman. You know, all the classics. Especially a lot of the Golden Age. You know, Justice Society and.
You hate Ryan Reynolds then?
No. I can't. His brother is he bleeds blue. He's a law enforcement guy out west, so I can't say anything bad about Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, so Alpha Omega Records, Cable and Reynolds, you're making a gay man's head explode. That duo would cause the universe to collapse. Yeah. The hysterical thing is that those of us who are not gay guys, we want to see that too.
Yeah, we do. I appreciate that 100%.
Ryan Reynolds would do a good job playing it because he's funny and he can play Deadpool and he understands Deadpool's character, which is great. That's why he hated Wolverine when they forced him into that stupid stitched his mouth shut thing. Yeah. And he's like, that's not fucking Deadpool. And that was a waste. Oh my God. Because they had Hugh Jackman and Deadpool together. And
did you know actually wasn't even Reynolds when they did that Weapon 11 thing with
Yeah, it wasn't Reynolds. Yeah,
it wasn't actually Reynolds.
Yeah, it's too bad. There were some really good ideas in that movie, but it was just the execution was atrociously awful.
Yeah,
whoever did not understand the Deadpool character whatsoever.
That's right.
Oh no.
And that's why he wanted it to do it himself. That's why he fought so hard for him to write it and direct it. That way he could make sure Deadpool was Deadpool. And he did it. That opening scene in Deadpool where he's just sitting on the thing and he's like doodling with the song going. He's like, "Hi guys." I was like, "Yes."
That was it.
I was like, "Thank you." He understands his character. He breaks fourth wall, That's like one of the funniest things. He knows, because that's my favorite thing about Deadpool is he knows he's in a comic or he knows he's in a book or he knows he's in a movie.
Yeah.
And he always is talking to the audience. That's hilarious. It's and Ryan Reynolds does a great job playing it.
I believe Ryan Reynolds was a Deadpool fan beforehand.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, yeah. He was a huge Deadpool fan.
Like a massive fan. Because I remember Deadpool, Deadpool didn't get popular to me until like the 2000s. Then he was just everywhere. Like every cool kid like Deadpool. And since we're talking about X-Men, I just came across this X-Men, the animated series Reunited. It's a cast reunion of the original X-Men animated series from the 90s. And it's a really great, it's about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 15 minutes long. And if anyone's a fan of X-Men, just check that out on YouTube.
I saw the musical. I played
the
game.
Deadpool musical was great, yes.
I haven't seen the musical. I played the game. You guys ever play that? The Deadpool game?
No.
I have not.
Like his own, it was like the combat kind of sucked, but it was so funny. Like literally there's a part in the game where you can't go any further, and Deadpool's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to get past this? And then all of a sudden you see his words coming out in like bubble form, and he's like, oh wait. Like the bubble comes out and he like jumps on the bubble. Jumps on the bubble again. To pass this certain area. Dude. Oh my God.
That is so fucking Deadpool.
Yeah, they did a great job. The problem with the combat was kind of like not the greatest, but it was still Deadpool. Like in the beginning, you're literally in his apartment and he's like calling a guy. He's like, hey, is my video game out yet? You're like, no. He's like, you pervert general, kill your ass. All of a sudden, he gets a call back and you're like, hey. our building's on because he like sets off a DNT thing, and the whole building explodes. And the guy's like calling him back. He's like, "Hey, we reconsidered that, that script you sent us. Yeah, we're gonna do it."
Did we hijack? Did we hijack the Mandalorian discussion?
Yeah,
sometimes you just go places and you run with it.
This is actually a great idea for another stream, though. We could talk about Deadpool, or we could talk about R-rated movies that we'd love to see, or
You betcha. Well, you know what? On that note, guys, I got an apple pie to bake.
Yeah, we got
I got some guests coming over. We're doing some barbecue tonight,
nice.
and doing a little apple pie, some baked beans, all that kind of stuff. So I do want to wrap her up.
All right, man.
So let's go around the horn. Anybody got anything that you want to plug? Any final thoughts on Mando or Deadpool or whatever the hell you want to talk about? By God, let's start with you, Myriasphere.
Hey, welcome. You can find me here on YouTube or on Twitter under the Myriasphere Origins. As you know, I'm a fandom menace guy, talking about pop culture, books, TV shows, stuff like that. Anything I really enjoy, some things I really don't. I am writing a book, my own book series. I'm still in the editing process, but right behind me, you can see, if I can get it right, is the main character of my book that's going to be out.
Looks cool.
So I don't know when it's going to be done. I wanted to be done by December already, but editing is long, and it's not an easy thing to do. I'm having my brother help me edit it, so it's not like we're hired anybody's. So I'm not a professional writer either. So I hope it's gonna be fun. I'm having a great time, and I'm having a great time just hanging out with you guys here on YouTube and just doing my own thing.
Outstanding. All right. Vigilante Williamson.
Hello, everyone. Hey, I do a YouTube thing. I just got over 100 subscribers thanks to everyone who made me follow subscribers. Like I see Claventines. I know he subbed to me because he was in my chat last night when I did a stream about why I hate the Mandalorian season finale. But check me out. I talk pop culture, news, mainly pop culture. I started off talking a lot more news and politics, but I've kind of spun off of that because it's pretty depressing. But I still talk culture war stuff, So just please follow me. I'm already at 102 subs, and I'm looking for more. And I appreciate earning your sub. So yeah, just I do my podcast, do clips from it, and then random other videos and reviews. So check me out.
All right, and normally he likes to antagonize me with his Detroit Red Wings hat, but he was, he was kind of coming on the channel today, didn't wear that. So
oh wait.
There we go. There it is.
At least it's an original 6 team. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
There you
go. I have the
go.
Lions hat on, so that means we're not winning.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. Just another red shirt.
Yep, I'm wrenching for Jake D, a couple of others. I don't have any content on my own channel, but I want to say thank you, Jake D, for giving me the opportunity to come on and discuss the Mandalorian season finale with all of you. That's been an absolute blast. Thank you again.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you having you on, my friend. It's always good to chat, brother. And finally, Lord Thoth.
As always, thanks, Jake D, for giving me the platform to rant and to support the new show that seems to be coming out lately that are starting to get a little better. I have a little bit of hope. I know hope isn't a strategy, as the great Gary from Nerdrotic would say, but I do see a little bit of new hope here. So I agree that with a lot of what VW says, there's a lot of problems with this show still. I seem to be one of the ones who has some negative things to say about it now and then, and I'm glad to see that there are others as well. We can't let this control the future. If it's going to be good, let's keep it good. If it's going to be bad, then I'm out. So I just want it to be good. Great to see everybody here. VW, just another red shirt, Myriasphere, good to meet you. And the chat was hopping today. Excellent comments. Thank you very much for joining us on this journey. It's been amazing today. Great perspectives from everybody here. It really helps out pop culture to be able to share this with all of you. And so I wanted to say thank you to everybody out there who's supporting us.
Absolutely, man. Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate each and every one of you as a guest on the panel makes these shows so much better and so much more fun. And also, in particular, those of you in the chat, you all being here, the interaction, what you're saying back and forth, it helps us all kind of think and sort of just enjoy the experience, right? Because it wasn't for everybody here and everybody in the chat, this is not even close to the same kind of fun and enjoyment for all of us. We all participate and make this what's so fun. We have got coming up later today over on Foul Ball Productions channel. There's going to be a couple of us getting together to chat the first 3 episodes of The Expanse. And then, of course, coming up tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Central, we'll be howling about entertainment right here on the Jake D channel. Anybody else got anything coming up you wanted to plug real quick? Myriasphere, Vigilante?
I may be on Culture Casinos tomorrow.
I hope so.
I thought I was last week, but I wasn't. So I got to make sure. I had to figure a way to contact him because, I don't have a way to contact him. So
yes, he is in the Discord server, but he almost never logs in.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So hopefully I'm on with him. But if not, can I come on to your show? Either way?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be on with Jake.
Why not do both?
I hope to do both. And I'm hoping to do.
Yeah, I'm on Culture every Sunday. So
yeah,
he's on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, you can contact him. That's how I contact him.
I'm following him, and he's in the Wes Moody has a group chat, but I am a boomer when it comes to social media. So I have no earthly understanding of how to DM him because doesn't he have to follow me to DM him?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sure he is.
I'm in my 30s going on 70s when it comes to social media. I have
what I'll do is I'll message him and because he has a actual entire thing for just a Sunday review channel.
Okay.
So
there you go.
He might invite you into that. I'll message him real quick and make sure he gets you.
All right. Well, everybody on the panel, thank you very, very much. Everybody in the chat, it has been awesome talking with you all this afternoon. And we will catch you on the next stream.